to get first. Get stuff. Okay. I think we got up to the Mishnah only. Mishnah Chav Chesam Beis. So okay, so Amar Aleph is pretty quick. So we'll between today and tomorrow, as Hashem, we'll get caught up. So Amar Esaveda. So you announce the Aveda, meaning you have a lost object. All right. Oh, one thing before we start, a guy, just when you think you're learning Elam Metzia, so you think, okay, now I'll be able to answer the Shavas Aveda Shaila. So a guy comes over today and he says, a few daf ago, we had a case where a guy sees the item falling from the person, right? So we said that you could be over on 3 surim if you don't return it, depending on when you take it, because you saw it actually fall from the guy. This guy comes over and he says, by the Shayashu Purim party, whatever, by the Purim Masiba, he saw the money fall from a guy, but he didn't see which guy it fell from. Okay, so again, he saw the money falling. He didn't see which guy it fell from. It was like $70. He's assuming
this is which Masiba, where?
In Shayashav on Purim.
Okay.
So he has no idea who the money fell from. So what's he supposed to do?
I mean, there's always signs on the bulletin board saying "found money." If you lost money, call this number, text this number. Why did I do that?
The money's still on the floor.
No, he picked up the money, but the bottom line is it's not his.
It's Eliyahu's money. It's Eliyahu's money now.
It's his. It's his. And at a Purim Masiba, there's tons of people coming and going. The guy's miyayish. The guy Luchar is miyayish right away. Certainly by now he's miyayish. Right? It's not a makam meshumar. It's a place where tons of people are coming and going. The money's his. He wants to know if he should give it to tzedakah. So I'm not so sure you're mechuyev to give it to tzedakah. I don't know what it's going to accomplish. It's as if you
give it to me, I'll figure it out. If you give it to me, I'll figure it out.
I tried to get a percentage, but whatever. It's an interesting thing. But anyway, so you have to come. So let's say this guy would put a sign on the board. So let's say the guy comes and says, Amar Veda. He said what was lost. Meaning a guy puts up a sign and says, I found something from during the Purim Masiba in Shayash. So he says the Aveda, but he doesn't say the Simana, but he doesn't give the Simana. Don't give it to him because he didn't give enough information. Aramai, but somebody who is supposed to be a liar, who has a reputation of a liar, even if he says the Simanim, don't give it to him. It says until his brother looks for him. Until you look for your brother. So you have to look at him, right, and see if he's a liar or not. If he's a liar, then you don't give it to him at all. And how would so that means a liar can never recover a lost object? So we say yes, he could. He could do it with Eidim. Eidim works for everybody. It's just a matter of whether Simanim works. So Simanim don't work for somebody who's a liar. So we had this on Amar Aleph. So there's a machlokes. Rav Yehuda says that he's supposed to announce what the Aveda was. I'm sorry, no. He's just supposed to announce that he lost something. He found something. Rav Nachman Amar Glima Machas. He has to announce that he found clothing. Now, clothing is obviously just a mushal. Means any sort of lost object. Rav Yehuda Amar Avedasa Machas. The Amar Glima Machas. He just has to announce that there was something lost, or he found something. Because if he announces that he found clothing, Chashina L'Ramai, we're afraid that a person is going to make baloney and he's going to take it. Right? Because he's going to hear that the guy lost the clothing and he's going to, there's going to be a problem. From Nachman Omar Glima Machris, he does announce the Glima, L'Ramai Lo Chashina, then we're not chaycha for liars, because if that's the case, there's no end. Right? Because meaning each thing that you say, oh, so this is a simon, then he's going to say, well, maybe the liar knows about that simon. So you say, okay, they'll go to a different simon. Meaning there's never going to be an end to this situation. So therefore, where you just announce, you do announce what the clothing, and then we're not choshesh for Rama. So Tanan, the Gemara asks, we learned in a Mishnah, if a guy says the Aveda knows it as a simon, that's our Mishnah, that you don't give it to him. So if you say that he announces the Aveda, even though he says that it was the guy that's coming to claim it says that it was a shirt, so then if he doesn't say Simonin, we're not going to give it to him. Meaning, so if the guy just announces that it's an Aveda, right, so then we understand. The guy comes, the guy who's claiming the lost object comes and just says that it was a shirt, but he doesn't say that it was clothing. It doesn't say the Simonim, so we're not going to give it to him. But if he calls out and he says, I found a coat or a shirt, Amar Iu Glima of Amar Iu Glima, right? And meaning the guy who found it says he found a shirt. And the one that's claiming it also says he found the shirt. Do you need to say? Of course you don't give it back to him. What's the chiddush? Holy say, imagine a guy announces and says, I found a shirt. Then the guy comes and says, I bet you I know what it is. You found a shirt. Right? You're going to give it to him? Of course you're not going to give it to him. So that can't be the case in the Mishnah. So the only way the Mishnah makes sense is if the guy announces that he lost something, that he found something, comes along this fellow and says, oh, it's a shirt. So we say, okay, do you have any simanim for this shirt? He said, no, I don't. So then you don't give it to him. Fine. So that's a raya that you must be that you announce that it's just an aveda. No, you really do announce that that's a shirt. Amar iu glima, Amar iu simanim. And he says that it's a glima, and he says that he found simonim. So now what does it mean that he didn't say simonim? Simonim move hokin dida. He didn't give the exact simonim, right? Meaning he said, something about he said, yeah, it's a black jacket, but he didn't give the size or anything else like that. So, I mean, again, I don't know exactly what's considered a good simon and what's considered a non-good simon, but we're talking about where he gave Epis a simon, but he didn't give a good simon. So therefore, we don't give it, we do not give it to him. So therefore, we don't have any raya from our Mishnah that whether you're supposed to announce the Aveda, meaning that that something was lost or something was found, or do you announce what it was that was found? Fine. Next, Rama, and a guy who's a liar, somebody who's a liar, even though he said the simanim, we don't give it to him. So but it's trying to call Misha of the Aveda. Anybody who lost something, he would give simanim and take it. Misha Rabba Haramayim, but when there became a lot of liars out there, they were masakin, they would tell him, Edim, the lav Ramayat, told, go out, bring Edim that you're not a liar, and then you could take it. Yodavud Rav Papa, like the story that happened with Rav Papa's father, Irkis le Chamra Vashkachur. He lost a chamor, and then if they found it, also committed Rav Huna, they came from Rav Huna Amar Le, and he said to him, Zil I see Sadi the lav Ramayat B'tol. So they said, come and bring Adam that you're not a liar, and you could take it. Azal I see Sadi. So he came and he brought witnesses. Amar Lu, he said to them, Yidiyosam Beit the Ramayu. Do you know that this person is a liar? Amrullah, they said, yes, he's a liar. You hear what happened here? Basically, they were expecting to be asked, is this fellow honest? And so they were expecting to answer yes. But instead, what Rav Bar Huna did is he switched the question and he said, is this guy a liar?
Was he being dishonest in doing that?
Rav Bar Huna, was he misleading them?
Yeah. He was like a little tricking them into, they think he was a little
Yes,
tricking them.
he was tricking them a little bit, but I don't know why he did this. If he did this on purpose, maybe he just had a different way of asking the question. I don't know. I'm not sure. Right? Anyways, so they botched it because now they made him into a liar. Amrulay in because they said yes. So Amrulu, so Rapapa, Rav Papa's father said, "I'm not Ramana. I'm a liar. Amrulay, Anan Lav Ramay at Kamrinan." Right? We didn't say that you're a Ramay. Right? Unless no, I'm saying Anan Lav Ramay at Kamrinan. We were saying that you are not a liar. A person doesn't bring Eidim that are going to make him liable, that are going to make him chayiv. So it must be that these guys are trusted, which Rashi says, because basically we know the din that once somebody says Eidus, he can no longer change his mind. Right? From what's the pasuk from? From which pasuk is it? I forgot.
Even Higgit Shivin
I'm saying right, but what pasuk is that from? Where's the pasuk from? From which pasuk?
I couldn't hit the button fast enough.
I think Vigadata. Yeah, very good. I think it's from the word Vigadata. I think that's the word. Okay, I don't remember the exact word. Yeah, but anyways, how come here they already said the guy's a liar, right? So how could they change their testimony? So he's saying a rule now. So Rabbi Ravuna saying, "Oh, Mustama, the guy doesn't bring them. He's not bringing people to hurt his case."
They didn't. Their Adis was all they said was in. That in was. Oh, wait a second, you confused us. He asked the question in a way that was confusing, and they answered in. But is that called Adis? If they said it says in who you're done into who Ramoy, but then that's real Adis. But if you just said in, that's kind of true. I don't
know. The Gemara. I mean, Rashi is clearly learning that it's some sort of Adis. Right? Anyway. Okay. Fine. So what I want to say, so sometimes, by the way, this happens to me when people ask shilas, so something when they ask it double-sided, like, should I do this, should I do that? So a lot of times I just read the last part of the question. So I say yes, and they say, yes, what? I asked you, should I or should I not? And you say yes. Right? So I'm like, oops, I messed that one up. Yeah, whatever. But anyways, right. So Zok the Mishnah. So now we get into what do you do with this lost thing that you found. So anything that does malacha and it also eats, sort of like a cow or a bull or something like that. So yasav yoichel. So it should do work for you, and you should give it to eat. Meaning, take whatever it produces and use that money that it makes to feed it. But something that it does not, as something that doesn't do anything but it eats. Let's say a pet, right? So it doesn't do anything. Let's say a pet snake or a pet dog doesn't make you any money, but it costs money. So you machers, and then what you should do with it is sell it. Just sell it. It says you should give it back to him. Look how you should give it back to him. Meaning, you have to use your seichel with what you're going to do with this thing in order to save the guy that lost it the most money possible. Don't just make it that he's going to bleed money because of this, right? Fine. And what do you do with the money? Right. So now let's say you found the guy's pet snake. So you realize that it's costing you a lot of money to feed this thing. So you sell it. So good, now you have money. So what do you do with it? Rav Tarfon says you could use them. Lefikach im avdu, and since you could use them, if the money gets lost, chayiv achriyusan, he's chayiv in the achrayis. Since he was allowed to use it, then you're going to be chayiv in the achrayis, like a shomer who's getting paid for watching things. You can't use them. Lefikach im avdu. If it gets lost, ein chayiv achriyusan, he is not chayiv in the achrayis. Okay, so then the Gemara says, you're supposed to hold on to this animal forever until somebody claims it. So we're not going to no, you hold on to it for 12 months. Right? You could, meaning it's not a maximum. You could hold on to it for longer if you so choose, but the minimum that you have to hold on to it is for 12 months. Unless it's an animal that's eating away all the profits, so then you would get rid of it earlier. Anything that does work and produces money and eats, you work with them for 12 months. You evaluate their money, their worth, and you sell it, and then you have the money. So calves and sayachim is baby donkeys. And them you only work with them for 3 months. You evaluate how much they're worth, and then you put the money, you sell them, and you keep the money. I mean, you don't keep it; you hold on to the money. Avazin v'tarnagoylin, geese like fowl. You work with them for 30 days. You evaluate the money and you leave them. And so Amar Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Tarnagoylas kibehema gasa. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says that a Tarnagoylas has the din of a behema gasa, right? Because he said before that behema gasa you hold on to it for a year, and the reason is because the behema gasa actually produces for you. It helps you plow. It can make you some money, so you hold on for 12 months. So a Tarnagoylas can also, because it can make eggs. And since it makes eggs, you can pay for it. It can pay for its own food. So a Tarnagoylas behema gasa you can work for 12 months. Become elach sham demeyan and manichem. And you leave them. You work with them for 30 days. From then on, you evaluate it and you leave them. And anything that it's people, it's work, meaning it's not its work, it's maintenance, is more than what it's going to earn. You metal him 3 days. From then on, you evaluate it and you leave it. So what do you? So you have two brises here that seem to be a stira. Kasha agolam v'siyachin, agolam v'siyachin. There's a kasha from calves and siyachin onto calves and siyachin, meaning whether they're kept for 3 months. One brisa says 3 months, the other brisa says 30 days. Avazim v'tarnagolan, avazim v'tarnagolan, and the fowl is a stira to the fowl, because the first brisa says 30 days, second brisa says 3 days. So what's the pshat? So agolam siyachim like kasha, the babies, the calves, and the young donkeys, not a kasha. Hadarei, hadarayoy, but hadatuma. One is talking about where you're doing it to graze, right? Meaning it's stomach grazing, so that's not hard work. You just let it graze. And how the betuma, one is where you're actually fattening it. So when you have to fatten it, that takes a lot more. Takes a lot more. So therefore, you would only do 30 days. I think she just left. One is talking about where they're big ones and eats a lot. And that's so. Therefore, those that get 3 days, And Zutri is they don't eat, so they're small, so they don't eat a lot. So Mamela, then that you could hold on to for 30 days. Bottom line is you have to just see how easy or how difficult it is to get to maintain them, and that's how long you have to hold on to them. And if he doesn't, if it's an animal that doesn't do work but it just eats, and you give it back to him, raw or you have to look, how should you give it back to him? Don't feed a calf to calves, or a baby donkey for baby donkey, meaning, or I'm sorry, a goose for geese, and tarnagolas, and a rooster for a rooster, meaning, don't go sell one calf, take the money and use the money for food. That's not the way to do it, because that's what you would think, right? Let's say a guy loses 10 calves. So you're looking for money. So you're thinking to yourself, like, why should I use my own money to feed the calves? Why don't I just sell one calf, take money from that, buy food, and feed the rest of the calves, right? And when the guy comes and he claims his calves, we'll say, well, I'm sorry, I needed it for the food. Right? So the Gemara's darshaning from the pasuk saying, don't do that. You have to give him back his lost object in you have to give his lost object back the way it came.
So if you don't have the money, you could get stock of money to feed the people the object that you found.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. If you don't have them, yeah, you'd have to, or you can just sell it if it's too difficult.
Oh yeah, Metzias are not cheap, man. Metzias are not cheap. Yeah.
Or you sell, you mean you sell everything.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. We're saying here, like, these minimum amount of days, 3 days, 30 days, 12 months. What happens, Taka, like you're saying, you can't afford it, so you still mechuyev to hold on to it? I don't know. I don't think so. Right? I don't think so, because you're not mechuyev to lose money. But we're going to see that later on in the next couple of dafim. But like, how much are you mechuyev to go to hold on to this thing? Okay, then the Gemara says, so we said, okay, so now you have this money. So what do you do with this money? So Rav Tarfon said you can use the money, and since you're allowed to use the money, therefore, if you lost it, you're responsible. Rabbi Akiva says you're not allowed to use the money. You got to put it into the bank or put it under your mattress, and you can't use it. And therefore, if it gets lost, then you can't. Then you're not responsible. So Gemara gives an interesting twist. Ad kan le pligi. There's no machlokes on Tamar Aleph now. Now we start today's daf. That's only when you had you have the ability. Doesn't mean because if you just translate the Gemara straight up, it says only when you use them. But it's clear from the end of the Gemara and from Rashi that that's not what it means. It means when you have the ability to use the money, even if you don't use it. But if you don't have the ability to use the money, then everybody would agree avdu potter. If it gets lost, then it is potter. Right? Which we're going to see. We'll see further on exactly what this is saying. But basically what it's saying is that there's no machlokes. If you hold that he has the ability to use the money, then he's going to be responsible, because there's something to, there is some sort of profit in having the ability to take a loan, right? When you have a home equity line of credit, right? So if you have the ability to take money, so then that's a sort of a schar that you're getting, even if you don't actually use the money, right? To which the Gemara immediately asks, Rav Yosef. Let's say this is a kasha on the sheet of Rav Yosef, the idmar shomer aveda. Somebody who's watching an aveda, Rabba Omar kishem mechinam. Rabba says he's a shem mechinam, which means a shem mechinam means he's watching this item for free. So if he's watching it for free, so we know somebody who watches something for free, the only time he'd be chayev if something happens to it is if he's negligent, if it's a pesheya. Rabbi Yosef says no, he's like as if he's getting paid. Now, Where is he getting paid? He finds a jacket in the street. He hangs it up in his closet, waits for somebody to come find it. Where is he getting paid for that? So Rabbi Yosef has a shita who says he's getting paid because since he is busy with returning a lost object, so Mamela, he's potter from mitzvahs. Because Isaac ben mitzvah potter min a mitzvah. So since he's potter from mitzvahs, he's gaining from that. Because he's got out of doing mitzvahs. Yeah, so that's Shita Rabbi Yosef. So the kasha, so this Gemara is a kasha on him, right? Because we're saying Reb Tarfon and Reb Akiva both say that if the person has the ability to use the money and he doesn't use the money, then even if he doesn't use the money, but he's still potter, right? So therefore, it's a kasha on Rabbi Yosef. So Gemara says, "Amalach Rabbi Yosef b'gneva v'eda dekoli amalei pligi dechayev." When if it gets stolen or it gets lost, everybody holds that it's chayev. Meaning Reb Tarfon and Reb Akiva both said it is chayev because he's considered shomer sacha. Ki pligi ba'intzin the shayel. We're talking about where there's an eintzin where something beyond his control and where a shayel would normally be, meaning a borrower, would normally be chayiv. Reb Tarfon Reb Tarfon says that the Rabbanan allowed him to use the money. Since he's allowed to use the money, he's a shayel. And he's a borrower, which means he's chayiv on eintzin. Reb Akiva the Rabbanan do not allow him to use this money. Therefore, he's not a shayel, and he's not going to pay for eintzin. Right? So now it's interesting this machlokes whether you're called an Isaac b'mitzvah, potter min a mitzvah. Right? I'm saying you found a jacket in the street, so you take it home and you put it in your closet. So you're called an Isaac b'mitzvah, potter min a mitzvah until when? For the whole year? Right? We said in the Mishnah that you could potentially hold on to animals for a year. So Mamela, when the animal's sleeping and you're not taking care of it, so you're considered an Isaac b'mitzvah, potter min a mitzvah. Right? So that's part of the chiddush of that what Rabbi Yosef is saying. Now, and everybody holds that when you're actually doing the mitzvah, then everybody would agree with Rabbi Yosef that he's considered an Isaac b'mitzvah. Meaning, if you're running to shul, and then you see a guy drop his wallet, and then he jumps in a car and he goes away, and you decide to chase him down, you're potter from davening mincha. If you missed mincha because you didn't make it back to shul, and now it's already nighttime, you wouldn't daven 2 ma'arives because you were potter from davening. Since you were potter, you don't have a tashlumin. Right, so that I think everybody would agree to. That's what
why can't you run after him later in daven mincha now? You're going to lose out on a mitzvah.
I can't say for sure.
Which you lose out on the deraisa? You're gonna lose out on the rabbanon. What are you talking about, Zevi?
Right now, your mitzvah is to return an object.
That's a deraisa.
If it's EF Shalakayim Shneim, then Hashem Saveda wins.
Yeah, but no, the question is right. If that's for sure, but let's say
but it's not. But I'm telling you, it's possible.
Do it after Ma'ariv.
You do it after Ma'ariv.
Do it after Ma'ariv.
Yeah, Nachanami, but let's say
Rabbi Yosef clearly doesn't hold like that. The Shaila is the other sheep. Rabbi Yosef holds. Seems like Rabbi Yosef holds even Kozman that's in your house, your potter. Right? It's hard to understand Rabbi Yosef's shita, but that's what it seems. The question is the other shita, the ones that are chaylik on him. Right? What would they say? Okay, hence the long Tosfos. Right? Yeah. Okay. It's a long sugya. Halavai, we should spend time on it. It's gishmaka sugya too.
What's the kasha? Give us one kasha.
If you're wearing tzitzis, if you're wearing tzitzis,
Yeah.
Second white line in the Tosis. You're wearing tzitzis, so you're Isaac for mitzvah. Yeah. So now it's it. I don't have to go daven. Don't anybody jump up at once.
I asked you once this, Shiloh. If I'm running to daven in the morning, 7:30, and they're standing outside the Sfardish Minyan looking for a kohen to duchen.
Right. Oh, it's a good question. What did we say?
Well,
You said
duchening,
I'm
you
not
don't.
have to go in there.
You're not mechuyev because we don't duchen in. But let's say it was Eretz Yisrael.
It was Eretz Yisrael
What?
and they didn't have a kohen. Would I be mechuyev to go in there?
Where is it?
Yeah,
The rice
much
today?
more of a
You
shayla.
duchen already? It's a question if you duchen already. If you duchen already, it's a reshus.
No, it's in Chutz La'aretz for whatever reason.
Or even in the chutzah, it's Yom Tov. But if you duchen already, you don't have the same chiyuv. You still reshus.
No, but I'm saying, does that count if they hold as a mitzvah and I'm running to davening? What comes first?
Only now running to daven. They're up to duchening, and now you're running to say brothers.
Two separate minyanim, Rachman.
Mr. Pope.
Wow, Rachman, that was just so complicated for somebody upstate. There's like 1 million there once every 6 months.
And the one, no, they have a minion over there in South Fallsburg, but the davening takes 6 months.
Very good.
Anyway, so Tosis is saying it can't be Rabbi Yosef holds that because you have an Aveda sitting in your closet, that's it. You're butter. You call the guy, how come you haven't come to shul in a month? Well, I found a lost object, so it's sitting in my closet, so I'm butter, right? I mean, it'd be a nice try. It would be a good.
But that's not actively doing anything.
Right, so that's what he's saying. That's what Tosis is saying. Even Rabbi Yosef might, if a guy's wearing tefillin, doesn't mean that he doesn't have to do other mitzvahs, right? So it means when you're actively involved. Okay, whatever. It's late. I got to give a shir at 9:30. Fine. So
9:30 tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I guess that will be starting late.
I can just mute everybody now. We can get going.
Anyways, so okay, so that's what he's saying, that Rabbi Yosef holds that they were talking about einzim of a shoyel, and that's the machlokes. The Gemara asks, second wide line down, why do you need to say lefikach? Right? Now the Gemara explains the question. If you say that the machlokes in the Mishnah is whether a guy is responsible for Geneva of Aveda, I know the Ketana Rebbe Kiva, I'm a lo yishtamish, that's why it makes sense. The Rebbe Kiva says you're not allowed to use the money. Well, since you're not allowed to use the money, you're not responsible for it because you're a shomer chino. You're watching this money for free. So why should you be responsible if it gets stolen or if it gets lost? I mean, assuming you're not negligent. Because I would have thought to say that you're a shomer sacher, and like Reb Yosef, because you're gaining something because you don't have to do other mitzvahs. But we're going to have Aveda Mechayev, and you're having Aveda Kamash Malon Lefikach. Therefore, the Lefikach is coming to tell you, not like Reb Yosef, and since you're not allowed to use the money, you're not getting anything out of it. You're a
Song of the daf.
only chayev. What?
Lefikach.
Oh, that's a stretch. Yeah, so but now that you're saying that you're not allowed to use the money, Shomer Sacher loy havi, he's not a Shomer Sacher, v'loy mechayev gneva aveda, and he's not chayev gneva aveda, right? Meaning, if you're saying that he's not allowed to use the money, he's not a Shomer Sacher, so he's not chayev gneva aveda. Eliyam gneva aveda, the kuli am loy pligi the chayev. If you're saying that according to everybody, meaning there's no machlokes that the guy who found the lost object is a Shomer Sacher, so therefore he is chayev. Ki pligi ba'einsin the shoyel. Where's the machlokes by einsin of a shoyel? My lefikach for Rebbe Kiva. What's the lefikach? This is what you should have said. Rebbe Kiva, he's not allowed to use the money, and there's a stop right there. Since he's not allowed to use the money, he's clearly not considered a borrower. And he's not chayiv to be in the achrayas. He's not responsible. Lefikach to Rabbi Kiva Lamali. What do you need lefikach? Therefore, he's not responsible. It's pashut he's not responsible. If you don't let him use the money, it's pashut he's not responsible. So the Gemara really answers, yes, that's true. There is no lefikach according to Rabbi Kiva. Mishum lefikach to Reb Tarfon. He's asking because of lefikach. Maybe he's saying it because Reb Tarfon has to say lefikach. So then Rabbi Kiva also says it. Lefikach to Reb Tarfon lamali, and the lefikach of Reb Tarfon. What do you need that for? Yeah, which Taisa says is not really a kasha. The Gemara is just explaining it. Since the Rabbanan allowed him to use the money, since he's allowed to use it, it's as if he's using it. Meaning, even if he doesn't actually use it, since he has access to money, as we all know, access to money is a very important thing. So as long as he has access to money, so therefore he's as if he's using it, and therefore he is chayiv in the responsibility. Okay, but then the Gemara asks a different kasha. You're saying, right? He's saying that Reb Tarfon and Reb Kiva having a machlokes only by Einstein, but B'nei Ben Aveda everybody holds it b'chayiv. But it says in the Mishnah Avdu. So Gemara answers on Amud Beis now. Could the Rabbah, like Rabbah said, Amar Rabbah nignu b'listim mezuyin. When it says that something got stolen, it's talking about listim mezuyin, which is armed robbers, which is a different level of stolen. It's really an einus. And Avdu shetavas vinasa b'yam, where the ship sank in the water. Right. So Memela in our Mishnah, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about einsim, that it's really a Veda, but it's really an einus. Yeah. So then. And Mamela, it's going to be telling what type of shomer we consider him, a shomer sacha or shomer china. Fine. So Amar Rav Yehuda, Shmuel, Allah is Rav Tarfon, Allah is like Rav Tarfon, that you're allowed to use the money. The question is, okay, he's allowed to use the money, but is he a shomer sacha or shomer chinam? That the Gemara doesn't say. So then the Gemara brings a story. The Yad Rachava Havalehanu Zizu de Yasni. Rachava's hand. He had money. He was holding on to money for Yisayim. Ask the commander of Yosef, Amalei Ma'alish Temusha B'Gavayim. Am I let you use this money? Amalei Hachi Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Halacha Rav Tarfon. Halacha is like Rav Tarfon, that you're allowed to use the money, right? Even though this was not an Aveda, he was just holding on to money for Yisayim. So we say Allah is like Rav Tarfon, that you can. So Amalei Abai V'Lav Itman Allah. Didn't we learn on that Rav Tarfon? Amar Rav Chelva Amar Rav Huna Lo Shanu Ela B'Demei Aveda. We're only talking about where it's the money from an Aveda. What does that mean? Since you had a tirch in it because you found the guy's jacket. The jacket was going to get, let's call it an animal. You found the guy's animal. Then you realized that the animal's using up so much money, you're just going to sell it. So this was a big headache. So Rav Tarfon held that since it was a big tircha, you're allowed to use the money. But money from money that you found, meaning you just found money, you didn't do any work. The light tarach will light. So if you didn't, since you weren't matriach in it, you can't use that money. And just having money that belongs to Yisayim, you didn't do any work for it. You didn't have to flip anything and sell things, etc., etc. You're just holding on to the money. So there's no tircha. So therefore you're not allowed to have it. So Malay, so he said back to him, to Rechava Zil, go, they're not allowing me to be matter. Meaning, even though he thought it was mutter, but Abaya slugged him up, and it seems like he agreed to Abaya. So therefore, he told him that he cannot. He told him that he cannot use it. Fine. Zakdimish. No matzah svarim. So now we're going to talk about how do you maintain lost objects. So matzah svarim. You have to read it once every 30 days because you don't want, the Svarim obviously doesn't mean regular books, it means with parchment. So you read it once every 30 days. If he doesn't know how to read it, then you have to roll it because you want to air them out. Right? We say this about Sifrei Torah, right, Gershon? That you have to, you got to use them. You can't just let them sit. Right? But you can't learn a new sugya in them. Why? Because if you learn a new sugya in them, you're going to end up keeping it open for a lot longer, and perhaps you're gonna ruin it. And you can't have somebody else read it with you either, because you might be, you pull the sefer, this one pulls it that way, and then you end up tearing it. Matzah ksus. If you find clothing, menara echad l'shem, you have to shake it out once every 30 days so that moths don't get to it. B'shait cholitzarchen, you also spread it out, so it gives it some air. But you can't spread it out for your own cover, meaning you have a oilam coming over, so you have this big fancy jacket, and you want to hang it out so people say, "Oh, look at this guy's fancy jacket." You're not allowed to do that. Clay kesef or clay nechayshes, silver and copper. You can use them for, meaning in order to maintain them, you could use them. But you can't use them so much that they're going to get ruined. Clay zava, clay schukas, gold and glass. You're not allowed to touch it until Elio. Matzah saka kupa. If you find a box or a sack, and in a derech that you're not meant to pick it up, meaning you would never pick it up, or it's a loyito, you don't have to pick it up. Which we're going to see in the Gemara is talking about a adam chashiv, who it's below his dignity to pick something up like that. He would never pick it up. It's below his dignity, and therefore he is exempt from picking it up. Okay.
So steer it to the Mishnah in Shabbos. The Mishnah in Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, you shake out your clothes. And over here, that would mean at least once every week you're shaking your clothes out to get rid of the bed bugs or whatever's in there. So over here they're saying Shloshim Yom, let them live for 30 days. But it sounds to me that the minhag is to shake your stuff out every week from the Mishnah on Shabbos.
The assumption that you're going to wear things. That's the assumption, right? Okay, let's see the Gemara. Amar Shmuel, Hamaitzi tefillin b'shuk. Somebody finds tefillin in the street, sham demeim, just right away evaluate the money, manichan la'alter, and then put the money right then and there. So tefillin, that's what you do. So Masa Ravina, Matzah Svarim. If you find Svarim, Karaben Echel L'Shoshim Yom, you read once every 30 days. But many a day, because we don't know how to read it. Goylulon. So you roll it. Goylulon ain. It sounds like you do roll it. Sham demeim, manichan lai, but to evaluate how much it's worth and to leave them that we don't say. And to leave the money we don't say. So meaning, what's the difference between tefillin and svarim? So Rabbi tefillin bei bar chavu mishkach shchichi. Tefillin are very common. Bei bar chavu, that was the name of, I guess, the tefillin man. They're very common. So therefore, you sell the guy's tefillin, and he comes and he claims it. It's no big deal. You'll give him the money, and he'll go buy another pair. Svarim lo shchichi, but svarim is not so common. So therefore, don't sell it out from under the guy. So Tana Rabbanan, Hashayel Sefer Torah mechaveroi. Somebody who borrows a Sefer Torah spend a razor lo yeshalenu la'acher. Don't lend it to anybody else. You're allowed to open it and read it. But you're not allowed to learn anything new in it.
Because other things I could that I'm borrowing, I could give out.
Oh, so that's gonna be the next kasha in the Gemara. Very good. But lo yikra acherim, nobody could eat with him. Not eat, read with him. Somebody who gives a sefer Torah to his friend, you roll it every 12 months. If he opens it and reads from it, if he did it for himself, also you're not allowed to do it. With a new one, it's 30 days. An old one, it's 12 months. They're both 12 months. So it sounds like Rabbi Elazar Yaakov was saying like the same first time.
What's considered new?
What's considered new?
A new Sefer Torah and an old Sefer Torah. What's new? First year?
If it wasn't used.
It wasn't used at all.
I think so. So so Amar Mar. Ashal Sefer Torah mechaver reza lo yeshalenu la'achar. Don't lend it to anybody else. My area Sefer Torah. Afilu kol mili dami, right? Exactly. Kol mili nami. Exactly. Yes. What do you mean? If you have a Sefer Torah, you're not allowed to go lend it. If you have somebody else's Sefer Torah, you can't go lend it out to anybody else. You can't lend out anything. So why are you saying Sefer Torah? Damar Shimon Lakish Kan Shana Rebbe. Rebbe taught Ein Hashoyel Rishay Lahashel Ve'Ein Haseicher Rishay Lahaskir. A borrower is not allowed to lend out, and a seicher is not allowed to lend out. So the answer says, Sefer Torah, you need the chiddush by Sefer Torah Malas, that a person would like a mitzvah to be done with his money. Kamash Malon. So we say that a person he will not want his Sefer Torah, right? Which is, Naftali learned, didn't have a hat from Ma'ariv tonight, so I told him he can go to the shelves and just take somebody's hat, because a person would want somebody to do a mitzvah a person would want somebody to do a mitzvah. But I guess if it's a risk, then he wouldn't want it. So say you can open it and read it. Pshita. But why'd he borrow it from? We're talking about where if you borrow Sefer Torah, don't give it to somebody else. So it's pashut. He's reading it for himself. Sefer, we need it for the Sefer. When you borrow something, you're not allowed to learn from it first, your first thing, because we're afraid you're going to spend too much time with it. Somebody who lends a Sefer Torah to his friend, you roll it all 12 months. And you could open and read it. What is he doing with this Sefer Torah? Why are you allowed to read it? Right? He gave it to you to watch, not for you to use. It says if it's for himself, it's aser. But didn't you say you're allowed to open it and read it? So what's the story here? Are you allowed or you're not allowed? When you're rolling it,
most people they lend out, they want the Sefer Torah to be used.
Yeah, but that's if he's not talking about lending out, he's talking about mafkid here. He's talking about where you're watching it only. So when he's rolling it, he opens it and reads from it. Mutter, it's mutter. But if he only opened it for himself, then he's not allowed to read it. Fine. It's 30 days. An old one, it's 12 months. Each one's 12 months. Rabbi Yaakov Hainu Tanakama. So Rabbi Yaakov is saying that it's like the Tanakama. Tanakama said 12 months, and Rabbi Yaakov said 12 months. Rabbi Yaakov Aimer Echad Zeh ve'Echad Zeh Shloishim Yoim. Right? He said. So what we're saying is that it's 30 days. Right? It's not. I guess we're changing what it seems like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov is saying. Okay, I'm really late now, so okay, let's just say it to him quick.